This is 99.3 Nigeria Info, and yes, we are back on the morning Crossfire. It's a day, so many things happening across the country. The hashtag revolution now really has kickstarted. And before we left off, before Tunji Andrews came in, we told you that Lagos was already bubbling. The National Stadium in Surulere. If you don't have any business there, you might want to think again about going through that route. Welcome. We're doing an extended coverage so you can know what's going on across the country. So from now till 10, we'll give you that update. Then Tunji Andrews will come back with the SME clinic. We'll come back with more updates at 10:30. Our correspondents are standing by here in Lagos, in Abuja, and in Port Harcourt. I am Wemimo Adewuni.
And I'm Sheriff Quadry. Remember that we are your number one news, talk, and sports radio station. It's the reason that we had to cut short money, business, and economy this morning, just to make sure that we keep you abreast of what events as regards the hashtag Revolution Now protests going on right now around the country. Rotimi Sankore also is back in the studio. Rotimi, good morning to you.
Thank you.
All right, let's start off with Abuja, where it's raining cats and dogs. We hear Solomon Ndahi is on the line. Solomon says the elephants are almost falling from the sky. Solomon, good morning to you again.
Good morning, my sister. I'm back to the office now because actually nothing was happening at Unity Fountain. Okay. The rain only got heavier. Even the security operatives at some point decided to take their leave and, go get some form of shelter. So as I speak to you now, I'm back at the office. But I've been making contact with some people within this coalition, some members of this group. I've been speaking to some of their members. And what they have been assuring me, they have been telling me that please, media people, don't go too far. Once the rain stops, we will converge, regardless of any threats, regardless of anything. We will be there to exercise our grievance, and nothing will stop them. So that's the situation as things stand now. But I can tell you for sure, this is a Monday morning, not dominated by the police, not dominated by the protesters, but dominated by heavy, very heavy thunderstorms.
Wow. One joke we made earlier on was to say that the protest is not waterproof. Don't you think that the protesters will come out under the rain? I mean, to kickstart this protest?
Of course, as we mentioned earlier, the protest is obviously not waterproof. And honestly speaking, I've seen protests take place under the rain or under bad weather conditions, particularly at the Unity Fountain. I vividly remember I've been with the Bring Back Our Girl several times when it was under the rain. We even had interviews. It was good for the background and everything. But not this kind of rain. This is the kind of rain that begins to shift attention to flood alerts and everything. We're already looking at some very key places that were affected by the flood last Friday, and we're already trying to establish contact to make sure everything is smooth here. So these rains are not the ones that you can protest or report or even as a security operative, provide security under, as far as I'm seeing, because they are heavy, very heavy, almost impossible to drive. You see a lot of people have parked their cars. A lot of it's brought everything to a standstill. That's what I can tell you.
That's some heavy storm there.
Solomon, Abuja has been experiencing quite an amount of flooding last week. I mean, even into this week. Someone was just saying before we came in that it's surprising that Abuja, is experiencing such it's almost a flash flood. Have you heard anything from NIMET or from the government about this?
Even cars
exactly. Now, I was in contact. With Alhaji Idris Abbas. He's the head of the FCT Emergency Management Response Team. Okay. Now, he's been telling us that, honestly speaking, they are very concerned on their part, and they are going to have some series of stakeholder meetings with some very key people, because according to them, they say the issue we are having now is very worrisome, considering the fact that we're just in the 5th day of August, and we all know that August is the month that brings the rain. So honestly speaking, government has not really spoken apart from FCT Emergency Management Response Team. But honestly speaking, there's a lot of concern here, and it's a lot of worry, because as I speak to you now, in as much as we woke up today, because what we're anticipating is actually the protest from this particular group, as well as Al-Zaki's trial. What has now all of a sudden in the last 1 hour become a very serious talking point has to be the rain and the level that it is falling. And honestly speaking, we're trying to get all information from different angles that have been identified as hotspots, so that we can make sure everything is okay, because the way it's raining now, I won't be surprised if it stays like that for another 1 or 2 hours.
Wow.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much for that update, Solomon. Thank you very much. We'll get back to you again.
And please keep your ears to the ground, Solomon.
Yes, and you can trust that I have my umbrella. My Nigerian
And your raincoats and your boots.
Yes, my
and
Nigerian info boots and everything. To make sure I'm okay.
Thank you very much. Fidel also went around Abuja today looking at the newspaper stands. And Fidel, welcome back.
Thank you, Wemimo.
Your drive through Abuja, what did it yield? Did you see any protests anywhere around aside the Unity Fountain where Solomon was standing?
Well, it seems like the rain has put a dent on the proposed protest because my drive through Abuja, I discovered that, there was no such gathering anywhere. I drove through Airport Road down to Area 1, Area 10, Central Business District, and there was no sign of any protest. So I decided to go to some of these vendors, newspaper vendors. Most of them were shut down because of the rain. I only saw one vendor of all of the 6 or 8 places that I visited. So that's the situation right here. It's a very, very wet day in the FCT and neighboring states.
Earlier on, Solomon told us that the government is worried about the rains and the flooding in Abuja. Does this mean that the government was not prepared? The FCT was not prepared for this flooding? There was no warning absolutely that there would be flooding in Abuja?
Well, I wish I could speak for government because reports reaching us say that the Abuja Kefi Expressway is totally flooded. So there might not just be traffic into town from people who work in the FCT from that axis. And don't forget, on Friday, there was a very serious flooding around Galadimawa area, Lokogoma, where some lives were lost. I don't know if government is prepared or not because we do not see any trucks or heavy-duty vehicles who are supposed to start working, talking about construction work anyway. So that's the way it is right now.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, talking about the protest, has there been any news filtering in from the grapevine as to whether the protest will go on as planned after the rain, that is, or is being shifted? Are you hearing, what exactly are you hearing?
Well, I can't confirm that, but for those who live in the FCC, if the protest is going to start off, the likely venue would be the Unity Fountain where they gather, then proceed. Well, there are a handful of persons at the Unity Garden, at the Unity Fountain. There are other places like the Area 1 axis, like the Eagle Square. We've not seen any gathering of sort. The only place where we have some form of gathering will be at the Unity Fountain. But I don't know if anything is going to happen, after the rains. But if I have to judge by what happened on Friday, when it rains like this in Abuja, it goes all the way down to the evening.
Wow. That's really big. On the flip side, the El Sazaki case is due for hearing in Kaduna today also, and the police has warned against any form of protest. Have you also gotten wind of any planned protests either by the IMN or supporters of El Sazaki and his wife Zinat against the hearing today?
Not at all, but don't forget the government has proscribed the IMN.
Yes.
Even though the daughter of the detained leader, El Zazaki, came out to say that was not the position of the Shia people. But talking about any protest, we've not heard any story that there will be a protest at the court today. So that's the way it is.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Fidel, for that update. Fidel and Solomon are currently in Abuja giving us updates about the Revolution Now protest. But in Lagos, things are not like they are in Abuja. The last time we spoke with Tunde Pratt, he was on the run. Tunde, welcome back.
Yeah, hello.
Hello, Tunde, you're welcome back.
Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah, trust you are safe. Tell us what's going on at the National Stadium in Surulere.
Okay, yes. The protesters now, they've been sent back in the blue park. And they have to, like I said, a reinforcement actually came. We had loads of different talks of the military men and police officers. They came in so many talks. I was able to count more than 30, and they had to really send the protesters back. They actually sent them as far as Peter, from stadium to Peter, and they put in tear gas and all of that, But after 20-30 minutes, the protesters actually came back with a bus and a speaker, were like hundreds of them, came back with speakers, and another 30 of police officers had to accept them and they decided to.
So they came back where? Came back where? Where did they come back to? Oh wow!
To National Stadium. They were actually, in fact, they came, like I said, they came with a speaker, shouting and singing, and they had to run into where the police officers actually stood, and those ones had to start shooting for them to move away, and they've done that. In fact, like I said, the situation is tense now. There's a truck, there's a cable network. I think they are actually doing a promo. So they also have their own truck coming with loads of them. So the military guys actually thought it's another set of protesters, and they have to bombard them before knowing that those ones are actually having a promo. So that's how tense is there right now. And the first set of police officers that came, the reinforcement, those ones have left. In fact, when we first had the protesters, they were singing their songs, the solidarity songs and all. They take them in. And after that, the funny part of this protest here at National Stadium is the security officers decided singing their own songs too.
What kind of songs were they singing?
That's the funny part. They started singing their own songs too and jubilating that they sent them packing. But it was while they were doing that, the other set of protesters gathered again.
Let me understand this today. The protesters were sent back, were pushed back by the security agencies, and the security agencies started singing that they had pushed them back.
Yes, after they pushed them back to Chisa roundabout. So while they were coming back, with the normal success songs and all, they started singing, dancing and jogging and shouting, the normal thing they do, in the bar. But that set has gone now. Then there's another set was gone now. Then later we spoke with one of them. I think the officer that led the team. And he told us, I'm going to send that audio very soon. He told us that they got the order and they asked to just send him back. That there can't be any protest. And I asked him that these protesters, they said it's going to be a sustained one. So even though the police guys are successful today, what about when they regroup and come in later in the evening or tomorrow? They said the police, the leader told us that they are going to be stationed here and they are up to the task. That as far as they are concerned, there won't be any protest, not even peaceful. That there can't be any protest at all.
But there is a protest already. I mean, that's what a protest is called. Right. Very interesting.
That's what he's saying. That's why they sent them back, shooting and all of that, because there can't be any protest.
So just to be clear, now, how many, because you said another group, how many groups do we have now protesting?
Okay, the first set left. There are different trucks and different vans, so I can't really say this is one group and this is another group, because just like me, it's a field work, it's a field day. So they are here and they're scattered, So, but I can confirm that one set has gone. That's the singing set. That's the first set. The first set.
So we have the singing set, the chanting set.
The first set that successfully pushed back the first set of protesters. Those ones are left. So, but we have others here and security agents are still stationed here.
Today, before you go, the last time there was a shooting and you were on the run, who fired a gun? Was it live bullets?
No, not live bullets.
Okay.
Not live bullets.
So what was it that happened then?
That was tear gas?
Because at that point, the protesters were actually charging. They were actually charging at that point. Okay. And then the first set of security officers that we had here, they were peaceful with them and warning them to push back, that they don't want any form of confrontation. But I can tell you at that point, the protesters were charging because they were gathering numbers. Okay. They were having more people joining them with their berets and all of that. So they were gaining more voice at all. So I think that was what led to the reinforcement.
Okay. Now that the security operatives have said that there won't be any protest, whether peaceful or otherwise, and the protesters are saying that we will not go anywhere. What is the situation at that place right now?
Right now, it is peaceful. The only problem we have here is just the traffic, which is expected. But we have a whole lot of last mile officers there trying to, control traffic. But we still have every presence of security officers. They're from here under the bridge at Stadium down to roundabout at Kita, inside Sule. So they were able to put them back to that side. So we have loads of them stationed at different places just to ensure that they don't regroup. But like what happened earlier, these guys actually regrouped. They came back. So we don't know what's going to happen. They might still come back.
Right.
But we are still on ground to know what the situation will be.
And we're here also Nigeria Info to give you live coverage. Funde, thank you very much and stay safe. We'll get back to you again shortly. If you're watching live on Facebook or on YouTube, you can see the videos and photos that Tunde is sharing from the National Stadium in Surulere. There might be a regrouping. Rotimi.
Well, the most interesting part from the report by our correspondent Tunde Pratt is that some of the police were singing back.
I found that really
and honestly,
interesting.
And honestly, I would rather that the police sing back than shoot.
Yes.
So I don't know whether to say that these are police men with a sense of humor, or whether it's a tit for tat, cat and mouse.
You sing, we sing, rather.
They sing, we sing. But
let's see whose voice is louder.
Yeah, but the thing is that the people with the guns that are singing,
unfortunately,
tell the other side to keep quiet.
Yeah, unfortunately, with the Syrian uprising going on right now, there was a time when the policemen and the military actually danced with the protesters. In fact, the video is up. They actually formed a circle. They were doing this kind of 10-10 kind of dance. And hours later, there was a massive shootout. So this really doesn't tell us anything.
Well, so the thing is, in those kind of situations, like we've seen in Sudan, we saw it in Egypt, we saw it in Tunisia. I mean, those are, in classical political science, what's called a pre-revolutionary situation, where the government effectively stops working. It can't function anymore, and then has to come out and negotiate with protesters. In those kind of situations, and we've seen this happen for hundreds of years, even the security forces split. The rank and file especially,
That's right,
faced with overwhelming millions on the street anywhere in the world. The rank and file, because they go to the same markets, enter the same buses, and so forth like that, they are drawn. It's like a magnet. There is nothing anyone can do about it. That's what history has shown.
Okay.
But what then happens is that, of course, there are different elements in the security forces. So as we saw in Sudan, as we saw in Egypt, as we saw in Tunisia, while some are dancing and singing with the protesters, assuming that the table has turned, the crack or elite squad or the most brutal are then unleashed through the back, you know. So it's not as such a confusing scenario. It just, when that kind of thing happens, and again, Nigeria is very far
That's right,
from that kind of scenario.
That's right.
But when those kind of things happens, it just shows that elements of the state are beginning to split off or fracture.
Okay, well,
Nigeria is very, very far from that kind of
we have Emmanuel standing by in Port Harcourt, Emmanuel Owuka. And if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, you would be able to see Emmanuel in Port Harcourt showing us what's happening there. Emmanuel, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
All right, tell us where you are and what's going on around you there for those who can't see you, who are not watching on Facebook or YouTube.
Okay, I'm presently at Isaac Park in Port Harcourt. I've been here since at about 8 o'clock, and there have been no protests here so far, and we've not been able to see any gathering or group of persons gathering together protesting or with intentions to protest. The police have been here, they say, since 7 a.m. To ensure that no protests take place at this very venue, because this venue is very popular for protests. Yesterday, the Rivers State governor had proscribed any form of Revolution Now protest in the state. So the police is effecting that ban here at Isaac Park. Okay,
Go up at that venue today. You think the protesters took that warning very seriously?
Yes, they took the warning very seriously.
Yes, they took the warning very seriously. Some minutes ago, I spoke with one of the coordinators because earlier today they had told us that they were still going to go with the protest despite the ban by the Rivers State government. They had actually planned to approach the police command in Rivers State to speak and to hold talks on if they will be able to go on with the protest and get the police coverage. But I spoke with Solomon Lenu, who is the coordinator of the civil society organization here on this matter, and he told me that they were not able to get access to the Rivers State Police Command and that the protest might be put on hold here in Rivers State.
Security vans at Isaac Borough Park preparing for whatever it is that the protesters might have in store for Rivers, for Port Harcourt in particular. Can you still feel the heavy security presence there at this time?
Okay, right now the
security presence has reduced. I think the police are trying to cover other areas where there might be possible groups hanging around, for probably protests. And they've actually dispatched some of their men to those areas. Right now, I just have about 5 vans here on ground right now. About 15 has left, and just 5 are here on ground with the area commander still here at Isaac Borough Park. We also have operatives of the DSS all around this place on Mufti.
Where you're standing.
That's right.
Yeah, so our viewers can see what's going on there. Can you do us a 360 view? So if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, this is Port Harcourt, the venue of the...
And it's live.
Yeah, he's live right there. The proposed venue of the protest in Port Harcourt. There you go, going round and round, and practically nothing is going
almost
on
empty
there. That's it.
It's almost empty.
Emmanuel Owuka, thank you very much for joining us. We'll come back to you for updates. If anything happens again, we'll be back to speak with you.
All right, I'll be available.
Thank you.
All right, I'll be available.
Nigeria, Rotimi, nothing is happening in Port Harcourt. Abuja is raining. It looks like it's raining in Port Harcourt too. Drizzling
right.
More like. But Abuja is heavy, but nothing happening in those areas.
Even without the exaggerated claims that protests are treasonable felony. It was never clear either way whether or not the protests will hold or be successful. I mean, that's the thing about overreaction by the states.
Yeah.
Because, some people want to organize a protest, they put out a press statement. The people often organizing protests too, they also regularly overstate their capacity.
They might not have as much a following as they claim to have.
Yes, I've seen people come out and say nationwide, the country will come to a standstill, and just be 5 of them
at one bus stop.
At one bus stop somewhere, and people will be wondering what is happening. And this is what I was saying about strategic threat assessment. The state has to be more careful about how it assesses essentially what would have been a small protest. And I remember I was saying during newspaper review that once it starts raining, everybody will just...
That's right.
Go back home.
You mentioned that.
Yeah.
But now, with the detention of Showore, and of course the statements made by the governor, by the presidency, by Rivers State's governor also, across board, don't you think this might just foil the protesters too?
Well, it will. And that is why we always come back to this question of poor crisis management. The leadership of a country requires the ability to tone down tension.
Yeah.
It is not, toning down tension does not mean that you are losing. You can't have fragile ego if you are leading a country. You can't feel insecure. You can't feel it is your country and no other person must speak. If you are leading a country, the first thing that you must learn is that you are a public servant and that every single person in the country has a constitutional right to protest. Now, some people will not be very tidy in their use of words. Some people will overreach. Some people may even insult you if you are a leader. But insulting you is not an offense. And that is what the more democratic countries have come to learn. That they let people, say whatever they, and life just goes on.
Yeah. Well, Nigeria, we're giving you live coverage of the #Revolution Now planned mass protest, which is meant, or according to the protesters, supposed to hold across 23 states. We're giving you live coverage from 4, from Abuja, from Port Harcourt, from Lagos, no, from 3, scratch. And our correspondents are standing by there. We'll step back a bit. Tunji Andrews will be back here with SME Clinic.
That's right.
We'll be back again at before 10:30 to give you more updates as they unfold. And Barrister Monday Ubani will be joining us also on that part. We're live on Facebook, also on YouTube. Leave us your comments also on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM. Rotimi Sankore is still here. I'm Wemimo Adewuni.
And I'm Sheriff Quadry.
We'll see you again shortly.